Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural Illinois Online Higher Education Symposium Towards Online Excellence. I'm Dr. Susan Wegman, and I'm the Executive Director of our SIU's Extended Campus. It's an honor to start off the event this morning. What a joy. This symposium was born from a collective vision shared by Illinois online higher educators, administrators. We're aimed at strengthening connections within our education community. Today, we gather to celebrate and to advance the incredible stories that online learning has made here in Illinois and beyond. I'd like to acknowledge the key partners who made this symposium possible. Southern Illinois University, both in Edwardsville and Carbondale, Eastern Illinois University, Governor State University, Illinois State University, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, University of Illinois Chicago, University of Illinois Springfield, Western Illinois University, and Northern Illinois University. Thanks to their commitment, we can convene here today to shape the future of online learning. I'd also like to extend our gratitude to our keynote session sponsor, D2L. And to introduce our keynote speaker this morning is Dr. Emma Zone, who's the Senior Director of Academic Affairs at D2L. Dr. Zone has nearly 25 years of experience teaching, leading, and driving change within and across organizations. In her role, she supports the thought leadership strategy in all functions of academic affairs. Previously holding senior leadership roles in higher education and ed tech, her work focuses on helping organizations redefine their teaching and learning strategies with a passion for faculty engagement and access. Dr. Zone has teaching and curriculum development experience spanning the K-12, community college, and university levels. Thank you so much and welcome, Dr. Zone.
Thanks so much for having me. So excited to be here. I'm thrilled. And as an organization that's committed to learning innovation, we at D2L are deeply honored to have the opportunity to be a part of this inaugural event. How exciting. And like our keynote speaker and really everybody involved in the conference, whether leading the conference, participating today, we know that we are passionately committed to transforming the way the world learns. And it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Ray Schroeder, who certainly is an agent of transformational change. Ray founded the UIS Online Learning Program in 1997 and led it as director for the Center of Online Learning, Research, and Service for the ensuing couple of decades. He retired as UIS Associate Vice Chancellor for Online Learning after more than 50 years on the faculty at the Urbana and Springfield campuses. Last year, he received an honorary doctorate from UIS for his leadership in online learning and the inaugural UPCEA Leadership Award for the advancement of digital learning, which has since been renamed the Ray Schroeder Award. Ray continues as UPCEA Senior Fellow, in which capacity he publishes articles, book chapters, presentations, and is co-editing a book about artificial intelligence in higher education administration. Welcome, Ray. We're so happy to have you, and thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
Well, thank you so much, Emma. And let me say, this is just a wonderful opportunity for me, and I'm so excited to share some of the things I've learned even through today about artificial intelligence. But I also want to thank, in particular, the conference committee for their hard work. What an event to pull together across 10 campuses, and also to D2L for sponsoring this presentation. I'll be sharing my screen with a site that I've developed for us all to, and excuse me while I do my little clicks here. There we go. And share. Here we go. I trust that you see artificial intelligence and online learning. And my approach to this is, as I say, PowerPointless. So with an emphasis on pointless, because I believe it's far better for us to share information using simple web pages with lots of URLs, lots of resources, so that all of us collectively and individually can use these materials, repurpose them. And in fact, I invite you, you can just take the title off, put your name on, and run it. Go with it across campuses and elsewhere. So I encourage you to bookmark this site, which you see here. It's sites.google.com/view online -AI. Some browsers want you to put /home. I don't know if that'll affect you or not. But nevertheless, if you'll bookmark that, find a way to use it. Now, I really loved the introduction, or rather the promotion piece, which said this is for those who learn, teach, develop, support, or administer online education. And setting the kind of the ground rules here. My opening thoughts are that online learning, first of all, has come to become the preferred mode of delivery of higher ed to adult and professional students. And over the past nearly 30 years, we in online learning have innovated and recreated the face of higher ed in Illinois. Through our efforts, we have brought the learning to the learners rather than always requiring that they come to us on campus. In doing so, we have sustained and expanded enrollments to many who otherwise would not have access to higher learning. And so congratulations to all of you who are engaged in this endeavor. Well, recently, generative AI, Gen AI, tools and agents have become available to enhance the delivery of online learning. They promise to make online programs more efficient, effective, and flexible for us all. We'll examine opportunities that these present and the potential they provide for the future. We'll share some perspectives of where we are today. I have pieces from a number of noted scholars in this area, as well as podcasters that I'll share for you. I also encourage you to use the resources that I make available. One is I've developed, and we'll talk about that shortly, Ray's EDU AI GPT. So that GPT advisor is about AI in higher ed. I also do a biweekly column in Inside Higher Ed, online trending now. The one that came out on Wednesday was Here Come the Agents. And that's really a key part of what we'll be talking about. And I also maintain an AI in higher ed blog. All of these are free. You can subscribe to the blog. One of the neat things about blogs are that you can do keyword searches. So you can search the blog and for stories on a given topic. So it's what kind of a funnel of information for you. I must note also, though, that what I share today is the product of a collaborative effort of myself and my great colleague, Catherine Kerpen of UIC, with whom I regularly research. We publish and provide, enter into podcasts and the like. Well, not all keynotes have learning outcomes, but I thought I'd do that given our audience. One is that we'll have an understanding of where we are today in the use of Gen AI, what to expect in the next year, and that's really ambitious. A year is in AI terms is like a decade in human terms. We'll talk about and share some powerful tools, podcasts, and blogs so that you can keep up daily with the important changes, and resources that you might want to share with your colleagues and others. So let's get started. One of the pieces that I wanted to go to early on was this, and I really have to admit I don't know a lot about Faulkner, but they had a great summary at the very end of 2023 on the use of AI in their online learning. And I thought that's kind of a nice starting point for us. So certainly in content creation and curation, AI is a wonderful tool to help you develop content that you can use in your online courses and also to curate materials that, from students as well as from the news media and the like. Um, it's, it's a wonderful tool to get through that material very quickly and accurately. Adaptive learning, I hope that many of us have some experience with adaptive, and that is where a artificial intelligent program can analyze the results of quizzes as students progress through an individual learning process. So this is mostly for independent learning and can direct them to materials that will help them master the topic. Sometimes now this is called mastery learning because no student completes a course without being able to successfully pass 10 or 12 developmental quizzes along the way. AI-powered virtual tutors and assistants, kindly, we mentioned a book that's coming out shortly. Ashok Goel is writing our first chapter. Some of you may know him or more likely know his virtual assistant, Jill Watkins, that he developed some years ago and continues to his research in the area. But AI-powered virtual tutors like Khan Migo from the Khan Academy, as well as Jill Watson and other kinds of assistants are tools that we can use in higher education. Automated assessment and grading, of course, important. Gamification, I'm sure that many of you are using gamification techniques, and you experience the benefits thereby of AI in college online and online learning. Now, my hope is we're all back to the presentation site. One of the things that I ran across really at the 1st of October was intelligent agents in AI can work alone. And this is a piece that I'm introducing here, but it'll be the topic of much of our discussion. That is, there's a big change with agentic AI or AI with agency or AIs that use agents. And what's the difference? Well, we're most comfortable or most used to chatbots where we might pose a prompt and then we get a response from Gen AI. And we use those commonly now and have really for a couple of years. Agentic AI requires the AI to reason, to plan, and to accomplish a task. So we now, beginning with Anthropic and coming up with Jarvis, which is about to be released by Google, and OpenAI promises to release theirs soon. And we saw with the OpenAI o1 preview the opportunity to begin to use this approach. And that is, you have an outcome rather than providing merely a question to be responded to. You say, I want you to reach this outcome. And in order to do it, AI has to plan, may have to consult a dozen sources, may have to make phone calls on your behalf, may have to install programs that it can use on your computer in order to answer the question. We'll see a little bit more, some examples of this as we move forward. Well, I mentioned this is just the online Trendy Now that came out on the 6th and is available to you, of course. One of an important, rather, document that came out in October was by Dario Amodei. And Dario is CEO of Anthropic. And Anthropic has been known as one of the more cautious corporations that's moved forward with AI. And yet, Dario wanted to look at, and he did, in, I think it's a 15,000 word essay, rather lengthy essay, at what, if everything goes right, what AI can accomplish. And so that's most meaningful to all of us, just so we see what's the path ahead. If you haven't read that already, let me begin with this piece from Wes Roth. He looks surprised, and the hidden under some titles are "No Death." One of the findings in this essay was that in a period of about 10 years, AI will be able to develop medical advances, including pharmaceuticals and the like, that will bring the average life expectancy ahead of the calendar year. So beginning in about 10 years, the projection is that we'll have an increase from whatever it is, 75 on up. So every year, in 1 year, the expectancy will go to 78, to 80, 85, all the way up to well over 100 years. Now, that's not the focus of what we're talking about, but let me have Wes Roth introduce us to this. And I think there should be titles on these and all the other videos that we use.
Yet another person comes out talking about the potential risks and benefits of AI. That person is Dario Amodei, the founder and CEO of Anthropic, one of the biggest competitors to OpenAI and ChatGPT. He wrote a powerful essay called Machines of Loving Grace that's creating a bit of a stir in the industry, how AI can transform the world for the better. In this video, let's take a look at what this essay says, because keep in mind, he's one of a handful of people that are extremely close to the AI development, the development of the frontier models, the most capable AI systems. So his educated guess, if you will probably be one of the world's best, because of how close he is to the cutting edge AI progress. Now, in the past, he talked a lot about the risks of powerful AI. He was very concerned, and a lot of people saw Anthropic, his company, as maybe being safer than OpenAI, him as being the safer person to steward this powerful technology into the world. As he's saying here, sometimes people draw the conclusion that he's a pessimist or doomer who thinks AI will be mostly bad or dangerous. He does not think that at all. He thinks most people are underestimating how radical the upside of AI could be, just as most people are underestimating how bad the risks could be. In this essay, he's going to talk about what happens if everything goes right. How good will life be if we get it right? The categories he is most excited about when it comes to powerful AI are biology and physical health, neuroscience and mental health, economic development and poverty, peace and governance, and work and meaning. And we start by looking at some basic assumptions and frameworks. First, he wants to define what he means by powerful AI, and he dislikes the term AGI, artificial general intelligence, but he believes that can come as early as 2026. But whether that happens in 2026 or not, what happens in the 5-10 years after that? So if AGI rolls around next year, what will the world look like in 2030 to 2035? So his idea of a powerful AI, it might be similar to an LLM, a large language model, or it could have a completely different architecture, but it will have the following properties. In terms of pure intelligence, it's smarter than a Nobel Prize winner across most relevant fields: biology, programming, math, engineering, writing, etc. It can prove unsolved mathematical problems, write extremely good novels, write difficult code bases from scratch, etc. So notice here, he's not even talking about it being better than the median human, the average human. It's not even in the top 1%. In terms of pure intelligence, it's smarter than a Nobel Prize winner. In addition to being just a smart thing you talk to, it has all the interfaces available to a human working virtually: text, audio, video, mouse and keyboard control, and internet access. So it can replace basically any remote worker. It can engage in any actions, communications, or remote operations enabled by this interface: taking actions on the internet, taking or giving directions to humans, ordering materials, directing experiments, watching videos, making videos, and so on. I wonder what it says about me that I'm okay with it, doing all of this, but when we get to making videos, it's like, wait, stop right there. Not cool, man.
And you can see, of course, Wes does make videos and podcasts. So there's a lot in coming around the corner. And it's so important for those of us in higher education, number one, to prepare our students for the changes in career fields that they're envisioning now as they enroll in higher education. So we must be in close contact with industry, business, local, regional, and national employers to know how they're going to be implementing AI and how those jobs are going to change. Because one of the worst things we might do is to take 2 or 4 years of someone's life and then they apply for a job in the field and they're not qualified. So, so it is fascinating. And I think we might want to take a look at another podcast, which was developed by AI, just to give us a better sense for those who haven't been to Notebook LM. Let me put that up here and see if I can get it. Now, this is Notebook LM, can create podcasts that are just truly remarkable. Let me go back and I'll give you an example specific. So what I have first is how to create the podcast, what I just showed you, but this was the one. Hang on. And so this particular program, Gen AI, can take that, however many, 15,000, it was more than that, words, but in any event, by the CEO of Anthropic, you upload this into Notebook LM, say, I want a podcast entertaining that has 2 hosts, and I want it to cover the topic of this and generate those voices yourself. And so here we are with purely AI generated voices in a seemingly human exchange interaction.
Ever feel like we're on the verge of something huge like just around the corner,
Yeah.
Today's deep dive to Cygnus Sailing, it's all about that feeling.
Okay.
This idea that AI might be about to catapult us decades into the future, way faster than we thought possible.
Right.
We're diving into an essay today. It's by Dario Amodei.
Okay.
He's the CEO of Anthropic, which they're an AI safety company.
Right.
So you'd think someone focused on AI risks, they'd be kind of doom and gloom, right?
You sure?
But this essay, it's surprisingly, almost weirdly optimistic. It really focuses on how powerful AI could actually speed up beating diseases, though, right? Amodei also talks about things like genetic diseases, even the possibility of living longer, right?
He does. He suggests that AI could potentially help us eliminate many genetic diseases, like before they even manifest. And when it comes to lifespan, he suggests that lifespans of 150 years or more, that might not be out of the question.
Okay, that's where my mind starts to short circuit a little bit. 150 years, that's longer than the average lifespan has increased in all of human history. The social and economic implications alone are mind-boggling.
Yeah.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I think we need to...
All right, so I'm going to stop there, but this is a great example of a way that you can use AI and Notebook LM to create your own podcast with voices that are better than mine, for sure, and that smoothly present the entire podcast. It's remarkable we've not been able to do that before. And when those of us who are familiar with computer generated voices in the past, they've not had the pauses, the and, um, the kind of normal flow of speaking that we see. So this is really a wonderful thing. I mentioned a New York Times podcast. I won't go there, but of course, you have the URL. You'll be able to use this. Here's an article that came out on the 8th of November, 2024. That would be today. So Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella has talked about AI and the way it's transforming how we learn and work with implications for every industry. So I suggest this at the AI newsroom. If you're interested, you may want to follow up on this article and read a little more. I expect there will be follow-ups later in the day today, as well as we move forward. Now, I have created an EDU AI advisor. It's a GPT product, and let's see here. I'll get this, and we can go to it. One of the things that I just oddly came across was I asked it, "Do you have a message for me today?" And it did. And it's kind of interesting. You can relate to um, these chatbots and other AI apps as you would to a colleague. And you can pose questions and move forward and the like. So um, we'll jump over there and we'll ask what ways in which AI can help higher ed. Now, this is available to you. You just go to the address and again, use what you have in that website. There are a number of programs available. So I know we all have 4.0 with Canvas. We may all have O1 Preview and O1 Mini. For $20 a month, I joined Chat GPT some, 6 months ago or maybe longer. And so I have access perhaps a little bit ahead of some of the rest of us, but nevertheless, these are available. So one of the things when you go to the screen, you see this allows you to attach a file. Why would you attach a file if you're asking a question? Well, it's for you to upload something for GPT to read, and you tell it what you want it to do. Maybe I want you to pull the data out of this PDF and show me the trends, create a bar chart and data in Excel format that are described narratively in this PDF, and it'll do that. This little globe means that now this GPT and what you put in it will be able to access the internet. Some of you may recall the days really up till about a month or two ago where GPTs were limited, and oftentimes you get, sorry, I can only answer questions based on my latest upload of information in 2023. Well, so let's ask that question. Let's see, what was it? How might Gen AI enhance higher education? We'll just say higher ed and put this in. Right now, we're on GPT 4.0. So we'll get a response. And it talks first about personalized learning and tutoring, also mentioning adaptive learning, tutoring assistance, that Conmigo kind of thing. For students particularly, content summarization and translation. And then administrative uses, enhanced feedback loops, boosting research and academic writing, writing assistance, creativity, critical thinking, improving accessibility and inclusivity, ethical and privacy considerations. And you have all of this. So when you look, you can get the whole answer, and then you can use the share, and you can share it, or you can copy the script of what's been put in there. You can ask for sources for the information. Well, let's change and look at a different model. O1 Preview, which has a level of reasoning built in. So that's OpenAI rather than GPT, OpenAI O1 Preview. So when we submit this now, you'll see first a little note that says thinking. And it's thinking about generating, and it thought for 6 seconds on this. Let me expand that 6 seconds. First, okay, I'm diving into how Gen AI might boost education, avoiding repetition from the past, aligning with OpenAI guidelines, reimagining education. So, so then it gives you a little preview, and it talks about personalizing learning experiences, enhancing teaching tools, improving accessibility and inclusivity, streamlining administrative processes, advanced research capabilities, data analyses, visualization, fostering creativity, ethical training, AI literacy, etc. And on it goes. All of these you can dig into. Now, you'll note that's different than our first response. All right. So, depending upon the LLM, that's a large language model, of AI that you're using, you'll get different responses. Sometimes it's worthwhile to get both the 4.0 if you're just talking about GPT, 4.0 and then the O1 versions. It's also possible, and I'd recommend that if you're doing serious research, you go to at least 3 different providers of AI. So you might go to Anthropic and use Sonnet or one of their 3.5 versions. You might also go to Gemini, and which Google product, and use its advanced version, or you might go to Perplexity. I mean, you can choose from a wide variety of providers. And so from different large language models, you can get differing responses. So some of these things, let's see, oh yeah, let's ask if we've got a message today. So I don't know if we'll try it in preview. So hope I didn't, I've got to get down to the bottom. Crafting, thought for the day. And it's saying, remember that embracing innovation can lead to transformative changes. Stay curious, open-minded. You'll continue to discover new ways to enrich. If there's anything else, yeah, let's just change that to 4.0 and ask if 4.0 has a message. And 4.0 is more personal with me. Say, consider the work you're doing to advance generative AI in higher ed isn't just about technology. It's about crafting the future of learning. Each step you take toward innovation has a profound impact on students, faculty, and the broader ed landscape. By leading with vision and purpose, you can enhance learning, but also you can inspire others to imagine what's possible. Well, that's nice and kind and a little ego stroking. Thank you, 4O. But so you can see the kind of differences that we get. And just within our own minds, we need to extrapolate the expansion, the development, the, the new features that we'll be seeing over the next 12 months anyway. We should be able to do that. Now, let me jump back if I can. All right, keep going. Now, I think we're together. The AI revolution is coming to your non-union job. Well, I'm not going to comment on unions, but no, this is an important topic, and how you have job protection, employers that provide opportunities for professional development, for upskilling, reskilling, and hopefully they retain our services for that. But those are important options that we should remind our students are going to be important, particularly now in their careers. Here's Heights Platform, which is a commercial firm in the field, and it's answering the question, well, is it going to displace those of us attending this conference? It says, no, we don't think so. However, you've got to keep up to date on it, and that's my response. I think in some cases, your special qualities may preserve your job. In more cases, possibly, it will make you much more productive to work with Gen AI. We should be alert to the changing environment and the needs over the next several years. So I think it's really important for us to remember, find ways, explore this, and I'll share modes and methods with you before we finish to stay up to speed with what's going on. There is a concern broadly about employment, and perhaps you've heard of it. Especially when we add embodied AI, that's robotics. We'll talk about that in a minute. That many jobs will change radically. And if those in those jobs aren't able to adapt, they'll be unemployed. It also, we found, for example, in customer service, there are corporations that have laid off thousands of employees because they found with AI enhanced chatbots that they can provide detailed information and carry out their customer service mission with even higher evaluations by those who avail themselves of it. So there's a concern that we're going to lose jobs. I have two snippets to share. This first one from the chief of staff at Anthropic, that's Avital Balwick, who had written an intriguing article on my last 5 years of work. She didn't mean going back to 1990, or rather to 5 years ago, 2019, but rather she meant the next 3 years and the past 2 years of working with Anthropic, and that her job may be over with AI taking the chief of staff position.
So this video is rather important because it discusses the future of employment, and it's not just a random person. This is from Avital Balwick, and this is someone who actually works at the Frontier Lab, Anthropic, and her insights into how the future of work and employment is going to change are very important for individuals like yourself and of course me. So I'm going to do a deep dive on this entire thing because I truly believe that this is really important, that you can stay ahead of the future. Now, if you enjoy videos that are specifically focusing on how you can use AI to better your life and of course preparing for AGI, such as how to invest in AI and benefit from the trillions of dollars that are flowing into that industry, don't forget to check out my post-AGI preparedness group. This is where videos like this actually get uploaded a few days earlier, but without wasting any more time, let's get straight back to the video because it's really important. So essentially, this is a post about my last 5 years of work. Now, if you aren't understanding the significance of this, trust me, at least watch the first 10 minutes because it's truly incredible. So essentially, what we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is a post by Avital Balawit, and this is Anthropic's chief of staff, okay? And this is kind of like a personal reflection / diary on how the next few years of, the economy are going to go for the average person in regards to work and where they fit into the economy and how things are going to be working. Now, the reason I'm covering this is because I think this is probably one of the most remarkable insights that we are lucky to have to get, because a lot of these, people at Frontier Labs, they truly don't talk about how the future of work is going to be. So it is something that I think is very, very important for us to discuss, because this is something that is truly pivotal, especially for this monumental period of time. So there are 4 main things. I'm going to timestamp them in below, but just take a look at this. So she says, I am 25, okay? And these next 3 years might be the last few years that I work, okay? Remember, this is Anthropic's chief of staff, and she says that the next 3 years might be the last few years that I actually work, which is, number one, an incredible statement. But number two, it should show you the gravity of what we are truly dealing with here. It says, I am not ill, nor am I becoming a stay-at-home mum, nor have I been so financially fortunate to be on the brink of voluntary retirement. I stand at the age of a technological development that seems likely, should it arrive, to end employment as I know it. So this is not some kind of clickbait title where I'm trying to draw you in. This is the exact words from this person who is working actively at Anthropic. Now, Anthropic is...
Okay, so, she is well positioned for this. Next, just a couple of minutes from Geoffrey Hinton, who I think it's 3 weeks ago received the Nobel Prize for Physics. Brilliant fellow, and he talks about work and AI. He's known as the godfather of AI, and kind of a late recognition of the groundbreaking work he did in the field. Nevertheless, the end of work is the topic.
Professor Geoffrey Hinton has a stark message for governments. Within the next decade, about 50% of jobs could be replaced by AI. This warning shouldn't be taken lightly, because Hinton isn't just another high-profile figure making headlines. He's a pioneering computer scientist and one of the top experts in AI, earning him the title of Godfather of AI. So, when he speaks, it's worth paying close attention. In a recent interview, Geoffrey Hinton said,
"What are the careers they should be looking at? What are the attributes of them?"
I'll give you a little story about being a carpenter. If you're a carpenter, it's fun making furniture, but it's a complete dead loss because machines can make furniture.
In another interview, he shared his concern about the future of work, saying,
Yes, I'm very worried about AI taking over lots of mundane jobs.
Creative and physical jobs. Creative jobs are being shaped more and more by technology, especially artificial intelligence. In the UK, the creative industries had 2.4 million jobs in 2022, which is a 14.1% increase since 2019. This growth is much faster compared to the overall job market, which grew by only 0.6%. However, while AI offers new possibilities, it also brings challenges. Studies show that around 26% of tasks in arts and design could be automated, potentially impacting about 203,800 jobs in the US alone.
So I'll pause there. I encourage you with all of these, if this piques your interest, to move forward and listen to the whole thing. And so how can we have such a big change. I mean, that's kind of out of the box, right? Well, 200 years ago, more or less, 80% of adults worked in food production, right? We were an agrarian society. And then came the Industrial Revolution, and now only 2% of people work in the production of food. Consider the magnitude of that change and how it impacted lives and family farms and generations. Lower cost of labor is now available through Gen AI. Think of it, Gen AI normally doesn't take sick leave. It works 24 hours a day. It doesn't require special benefits for vacation days and whatnot. And it's going to become even more and more widespread around the world. These technologies simultaneously handle 1,000 or even 10,000 tasks at the same time. This is going to have an effect. It's going to make a difference. And so questions, I offer to you is, should we be? How can we review employment trends to make sure our graduates that are pursuing a degree, we can ensure that they're preparing for continuing careers? Or how can we ensure that we're not preparing our students for a job that won't exist? I can guarantee you that 4 years from now, many jobs will go away. It could be 50%. It could be 30%. It could be 90%. I don't know. And I don't know the fields. I don't think anyone really knows what percentage, but we all know that we can see even in 2024 that IBM and Cisco and other major corporations have laid off tens of thousands of workers because in large part, they were able to replace them with Gen AI. Now, how should this affect our curriculum? Should we be offering more just-in-time certificates online to enable workers to adapt to the changing demands of the workplace? Let me just give you a sense of what this is. See if I can copy that. Yeah. So there's a suggestion that having UBI, universal basic income.
What if money was considered a basic human right?
Stop, Julie. Great. I'll restate that for you. But that UBI could be implemented in a way that would tax employers who used AI and had enormous savings, tax them for dollars that then would provide income. Otherwise, if we don't find a way to provide support, some people like Julia McCoy, and others that we just heard suggest there won't be enough jobs for people now, and we won't be able to use the normal workforce to provide for families. I'll run just a few seconds of this.
What if UBI, Universal Basic Income, could actually work? UBI has been a pipe dream since the 16th century. In fact, the first writing on this idea was published by Thomas More in a book called Utopia in the year 1516, where More, an early economist, proposed this idea of a baseline level of living across the world where everyone had enough resources to live comfortably. American forefather Thomas Paine, in his pamphlet Agrarian Justice, published in 1797, suggested a form of UBI as a way to compensate for a loss of natural inheritance due to private land ownership. Listen, there is a crap ton to unpack when it comes to UBI. I've done it. I've read this amazing book, Utopia for Realists, by Rucker Bregman. I've also cross-referenced the top YouTube videos on UBI. And, of course, I've enlisted the help of AI, and I've asked ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini for thoughts on UBI. I've distilled it all down, and I'm going to share with you a comprehensive overview of the surprising history of UBI and how UBI is probably going to be necessary when the robots take over the world.
And now I know that sounds extreme. Well, nobody knows how the economy is going to move forward the next 4 years, but the technology will move forward almost certainly. So many trillions of dollars have already been invested collectively among those corporations that are using and developing AI that we're going to see changes. And so, I think we need to prepare ourselves or begin looking at how we can provide alternative income streams for those who may be turned out of work. Here's a brief anecdote, and I'll share this, and that is the human level intelligence as judged by exams. And in this case, OpenAI offered exams to PhD holders in the sciences, in biology, chemistry, physics. And then they used OpenAI o1 to take the same exams with the same time requirements. And I think that's relevant to those of us in higher ed.
The AI landscape is shifting rapidly, and just a couple of days ago, the CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman, made a significant statement. He declared that their new o1 family of models has officially reached a level of human reasoning and problem solving. This isn't the kind of claim that can be taken lightly. AI models making decisions in the same way humans do has long been the goal, but this might be the first time we're truly seeing it happen. Of course, o1 still makes its share of errors, just as humans do. The more important thing is how it's tackling increasingly complex tasks. Even though o1 isn't perfect, this could mark a significant turning point in AI development. And yes, the improvements are happening so quickly that finding examples where an AI outperforms an adult human in reasoning is becoming more realistic than the other way around. Let's start with the numbers. OpenAI is now valued at $157 billion, a staggering figure for a company just a few years into large-scale AI development. This valuation reflects not only the present achievements, but also the massive expectations for the next 2 years. Sam Altman, during Dev Day, hinted at very steep progress coming our way, and he wasn't exaggerating. He said that the gap between o1 and the next model expected by the end of next year will be as big as the gap between GPT-4 Turbo and o1. That's some rapid progress for sure. The advancements in AI might not be felt linearly, they could accelerate exponentially. Now, onto the technical side. The 0-1 models aren't just your average chatbots anymore. They can reason their way through problems, a major leap from previous generations. OpenAI has broken down their AI models into 5 levels. Chatbots, level 1, reasoners, level 2, agents, level 3, innovators, level 4, and organizations, level 5. Altman claims that 0-1 has clearly reached level 2, which means these models aren't just providing responses but actually thinking their way through issues. It's worth mentioning that many researchers are starting to validate these claims. In fields like quantum physics and molecular biology, 0-1 has already impressed experts. One quantum physicist noted how 0-1 provides more detailed and coherent responses than before. Similarly, a molecular biologist said that 0-1 has broken the plateau that many feared large language models were stuck in. Even in mathematics, 0-1 has generated more elegant proofs than what human experts had previously come up with. One of the benchmarks that 0-1 still struggles with is psi code, where it only managed a score of 7.7%. This benchmark involves solving scientific problems based on Nobel Prize-winning research methods. It's one thing to solve subproblems, but 0-1 needs to compose complete solutions, and that's where the challenge lies. Psi code seems more appropriate for a level 4 model, innovators, than for 0-1, which operates at level 2, so it's not surprising that the model didn't score higher. Now, stepping back to consider what OpenAI has accomplished so far, these models are already outperforming humans in some areas. 0-1 crushed the LSAT, and even Mensa has taken notice, qualifying it for entry 18 years early.
So, now it covered up the the spots. It covered up, let me nudge it
Earlier
ahead.
than predictions from 2020 had expected. This level of reasoning is no small feat, and it opens up more questions about what comes next.
That spot on the chart shows an average IQ of 120 based on IQ tests given to OpenAI's O1 product. And in fact, they said it's ranks in the 89th percentile on competitive programming. Yeah, well, we know programming, but it's this PhD level science questions. And they took a test generated externally and gave it to hundreds of PhD holders in biology, chemistry, and physics, and found that they scored on average 69.7%. And when they gave it to OAI preview, like we took a look at running at Ray's EDU AI GPT, they averaged 78.3. Well, that's a difference. And I'm sure it's not one that my former colleagues and professors around the state fully appreciate, but they need to know more about that. And one of the things that's happening now is LLMs previously had not been able to, it would keep making its own mistakes. Now, in this article, I'll share with you, and you can go to, you'll find that now we can begin to understand those mistakes through AI. So let me, I see my time kind of running low, so I'm going to zip forward a little bit. But back to the idea of agents. So remember, with an agent, you can give it a task. I want you to accomplish this or that. And I'll skip Jensen Wang, but good material there. Here's a rather enthusiastic Matt Wolf describing the availability of agentic AI.
Anthropic launched something amazing this week, and we officially have low-level AI agents that can go and do work on our behalf for us now. So check this out. I can give it a command like, find the 5 most popular videos on Matt Wolf's YouTube channel and add the dates and title of each of them to a spreadsheet, press enter, and watch as the tool opens Firefox for me, navigates to YouTube for me, searches out Matt Wolf, clicks into my channel for me, it clicks on the videos tab, sorts it by most popular, opens up a spreadsheet for me, and then watch as one by one it adds each of the titles of my most popular videos and pulls in the time since it was released. It just scraped it straight from my YouTube channel and is creating the spreadsheet hands-free. It just went through that whole process and just did each of the steps until I have the spreadsheet that you see on the screen right now. I'm talking as it's doing it. I'm not doing anything. This is crazy that we're...
And it is crazy. And that's really a simple example. At the same time, as that was coming out, OpenAI released Swarm, which pulls together a host of agents that can hand off a project one to another. And so if you give one agent from one LLM, one project, and it knows it can't do the best job on all steps of the project, it will hand off to another agent who will then hand back, and off they go. It's really remarkable. It's an iterative process for agents. Here's a great video of robots. I'm going to move past that. Tesla, here we have Elon Musk saying that he's going to release Optimus, the Tesla robot, for between $20,000 and $30,000. So that's in the future, coming your way. I'll move a couple of great pieces by a thoughtful fellow, Imad Mostak, former CEO of Stability. And one of the questions has been, are these empathetic?
I'm amazed how AI has actually taken up the mantle of empathy. If you had asked me years ago, what will AI not be able to do in the next decade, where where are we humans going to be better off? I would have said it's in being empathic and connected with an individual. And it's actually now for the last year been proven far more empathic than humans in most cases. Thoughts about that?
I think it's because we don't have the time to establish connection, and it's hard because we're all so busy with our lives, like our doctors, our teachers. How many people do they have to see? And the empathy from our organizations is drilled out of us. We're mistrusting. And AI doesn't need to be mistrusting. And AI has the energy to be empathic. It learns empathy through the process of the AI training.
Yeah.
Because the best way to get someone to trust you is to help them. You know, the best way to establish empathy and rapport is what's my common context and my common framework. And because it understands these frameworks that are instinctive in terms of it can map them, that's why it can communicate to you on your level. Like you.
So I'll pause there. Much more ahead on those. Kind of concluding, for those of us who are attending the symposium, we have a responsibility. We're the ones who have to remain alert to the changes in our field and in the field of AI. Just now, this is the fourth industrial revolution. Recall what the first one did, moved everybody to the cities. This is equally radical. The question will be, what about salary? What about jobs? How can we prepare students who are constantly updating their knowledge, their skills in order to succeed? I've been most fortunate to work with Catherine Kirpan of UIC, insightful, talented, energetic. And what's useful, we Zoom once a week and kind of update, but email in between. The idea is that if you can find a partner, I'd encourage it, because one person, I start at 5 a.m. I just can't keep up with everything. And so sharing it with some others allows me the opportunity to stay up with the field. Now, here are some tools for you. Biweekly column and Inside Higher Ed, links to all these. UPCEA's professional and continuing online ed update. So that's for online as well as AI. Alternative credentials in higher ed, artificial intelligence, and LinkedIn. I post to LinkedIn. So here are ways you can contact me. Here's a QR code. And I think now I need to stop sharing and do a little question answering. So let's see what I've got here. Whew. Okay. Thank you. And Emma, do we have some questions? Or Tony?
Yes, we do, Ray. We actually have 8. And so for the first one, Lisa Anderson says, a concern I sometimes hear from faculty is that in using generative AI to grade student work, the faculty member is also using the student's works to train the AI. The question then becomes, is it ethical to share students' works, which they own, beyond the professor and teaching assistants for this course?
Tony, that's a great question, and thank you for sharing it. So yes, it's entirely possible, and I'd say likely, that the LLM will take that writing and add it to its font of knowledge. However, you can airlock computers. So one piece is I use Chromebooks, they're not expensive. So get an extra computer and load onto it an AI, Gen AI, then take the material your student has provided and put it onto your second computer that is not connected to the internet, okay? And then run it there. But that's an awkward solution. I see opportunities down the line where you'll be able to insulate what you put on there from further use. Go ahead, Tony.
Thank you, Ray. Melissa McElhill says, I would love to hear Ray's thoughts on institutional discourse surrounding generative AI. Has it changed, evolved, or become more nuanced?
Yeah, okay. Good options. Probably becoming more nuanced. You know, at first we reacted saying, oh, students are going to cheat, they're going to use this, but that's more an issue of pedagogy. They're going to, you know, yes, if you ask them to write an essay on a rigid topic and you build up a database of those, I mean, they're probably going to use it. Then comes the question, is AI detection reliable? And basically, it is not. Well, it may be, even if it's 90% reliable. You can't use those tools that are still out there saying this is Gen AI generated, because it doesn't give the same answer every time you ask the same question. Try that and you'll see. But so if you use those tools, you run the risk of accusing a student who didn't use Gen AI. And that's a career breaker. The import of that is huge. So what we need to do, it's a pedagogical solution. It's devising learning using authentic methods and using collaboration so that students working together can solve those problems. So yeah, I mean, in the classroom, things are changing. I think that more and more, especially after this most recent, the EDUCAUSE conference, I think that CIOs and others in the C-suite at universities realize we've got to start taking action. We can't ignore this.
Diane has a question that a lot is on a lot of faculty members' minds. Are you concerned with students using AI to produce essays/written work without really reading or understanding the material? If so, how might educators address this?
That's good. Yeah, sure. So it's a pedagogical solution. In instances where online you can get students into groups where they discuss topics and you can drop into their groups, so that obviously in online we need to find ones that have concurrent times available and do some of those discussions synchronously is a possibility, or to distribute to members materials that you have. I think that distribute your materials and then customize them for each student. Ask for examples from their life. I mean, this is authentic, basic authentic assessment, but you can say how in your life you live in a, well, we'll go to Iowa, Ottumwa, Iowa. So within Ottumwa, Iowa, how are you using this? And how might it be used to solve specific problems there? Or you could say Jacksonville, Illinois, or, whatever, a suburb of Chicago. All of those are opportunities. So if you become geographically centered and provide that question to your student, you may be able to help avoid this kind of problem. I think this is a transient problem. On the other hand, I will say there are those who argue and argued back when the calculator came out, the programmable calculator. Gee, we can't let students use calculators. And then finally we reached the conclusion, well, you're not going to be in a position, even on a desert island, where you don't have a calculator of some kind. So we let them use calculators. It could be this technology will become similar in that regard. I know it's hard for us to imagine, but try to imagine ubiquitous generative AI. And if that's always available, golly, then our students more so need to be able to use that technology. It's the skill of using that technology. You see, we've moved from a circumstance where our memories were in our brain or in our books. Now our memories are online, and that's how we access information. Tony?
Yes. Lisa had a question of what are some strategies to stay up to date on new AI tools? I'd like to more efficiently use ChatGPT and other Gen AI tools in my work, but I struggle to figure out how to apply them to my role. Are there places where I can go to see people working in higher ed actually model using these?
Well, I've been to every one of our 10 campuses, and happily so. And I feel that this is something we could foster in Illinois. That is an invitation. Come to UIS Springfield. Come to ISU Bloomington. Come visit us, and we'll show you some examples of the ways in which we're utilizing it, and maybe we'll be able to take a look through the window of a faculty member teaching a class using the technology. So that I think we can do that kind of sharing. I've listed at the bottom those resources, which are daily blogs. Those are, 7 days a week, 366 days, I think, this year. But they're available to you all the time. And I update, and of course, I'm happy to respond if you have specific questions. I have various email addresses there. So those are ways, but also if you look at the handout for today that I was working from, you'll see podcasts by Wes Roth and by, Matt Berman, which I didn't get to, but some great podcasters that put out 2 or 3 podcasts a day. And you can do search. You can use ChatGPT search now and search for answers. Say, I want a podcast on this topic. Give me examples.
Thank you. And a couple, for our final question, a couple have asked, since AI is changing the job market, what kind of skills and jobs should we be anticipating preparing our students for?
That's a wonderful question. I'm so happy it's been asked because we need to identify this really industry by industry. So different industries will utilize different applications, and yet there are some general ones like customer service, okay, and accounting. But there are very specific ones within the fields that are hiring. Let's take, John Deere or Caterpillar or Motorola or Boeing. I mean, they're all going to have different needs. And so what we have to do is build a relationship between our faculty and the administrators, and especially invite the HR director to do a recorded session or a live session with you for your class and ask that very question, because we in higher ed are distanced from this. And one of the great concerns I have is that faculty members who are so busy, obviously with all the minutiae and details that they have to deal with, they cannot keep up with the field the way that we need to, because the careers of our students depend upon it.
Thank you so much, Ray, for your insights, for these wonderful resources, for your optimism and for your leadership in this field, and always keeping us informed, not only in conferences like this, but in your column in Inside Higher Ed and through your work with UPCEA. We also want to thank Desire to Learn Brightspace for sponsoring this particular session. You can go to d2l.com to learn more about them. We also want to let you know that these sessions The remaining sessions are going to be done within 3 break rooms of another Zoom room. And so I have just put the link in our chat so that you can go there to the other Zoom room, because this one's going to be closed. And so there will be several concurrent sessions happening until about 4:15 today, in 3 different rooms, one focusing on pedagogy, one focusing on accessibility, another focusing on leadership. So there are going to be some great sessions, and we look forward to interacting with you throughout the remainder of this inaugural Illinois Higher Ed online symposium. And thank you so much to Ray Schroeder and our colleagues here.
And thank you so much to the committee, to the attendees. We are on the precipice of exciting changes, and we need to lead those changes. Looking forward to it.
Thank you all.